We're very pleased to start the 2014 Parkland College Foundation Entrepreneur of the Year banquet, honoring Murray Wise, Chairman and CEO of Murray Wise Associates, LLC. This is the 5th annual Entrepreneur of the Year program by Parkland, and the past 4 recipients, starting in 2010, were Clint Atkins, followed by Rick Stevens, Dwight Miller, and Rudy Frasca. I believe Rick Stevens is with us here tonight. I know Dwight Miller is not, but his son Scott is, and I'm not sure, is Rudy with us tonight? I thought he saw maybe, yes, Rudy. If Rudy and Rick could stand up and just wave, that would be great. I also want to take just a moment to thank Carl Meyer. Carl was really instrumental the first 4 years with the foundation in getting this program. And Carl, wherever you are, please stand up and wave for us if you would. We've got attendees from all over tonight, probably the most diverse group in terms of geography that we've had. We have people from Canada, we have people from Florida, people from California, and a bunch from the state of Iowa. So we welcome you all to Champaign-Urbana. It's a great place to come, visit, and start a business, so think about it. I've known Murray Wise for many years, and I believe he has 2 professional passions. The first is agriculture, and the second is entrepreneurship. Murray grew up on a farm in Canada and received his undergraduate degree from Iowa State University, later earning his master's of business from the University of Illinois. Murray's successful business career blossomed when he formed the Westchester Group, working with individual and ultimately institutional investors on a national and international scale. Additionally, he developed a multi-parcel auction system that resulted in getting maximum return for sellers. This system allowed Westchester to receive numerous excellence awards, including 2 National Auctioneer Associations Auction of the Year awards. And if you've not seen a multi-parcel auction system of real estate, it is really very fascinating to watch, and I would encourage you, if you ever have the opportunity, to do so. Murray has written 2 books, Investing in Farmland and Farmland Investment Strategy, as well as being a leading speaker in the media, and has presented at many agricultural investment conferences. I've had the privilege of working with Murray for over 20 years, and he is focused, creative, and forward-thinking. While Murray has been successful professionally, he has also been very charitable, giving his time, talents, and treasures to worthy causes, including those focusing on entrepreneurship. Murray has remarked to me in the past how much he enjoyed this particular evening, Parkland's program, and how it plants seeds for future generations of entrepreneurs. In relation to that, there are 2 topics I briefly want to address tonight. The first is the benefits of this Parkland's Entrepreneur of the Year program. To my mind, there are 3 major benefits of the program. First, and most importantly, it helps Parkland students. Since the inception of this program, over $540,000 has been raised, $70,000 raised this year in connection with the program. 53 scholarships have been awarded to entrepreneurial students, motivating them and training them for the future. In addition to funding for Parkland, though, the program recognizes local business professionals who have achieved success in their entrepreneurial efforts. Many of these entrepreneurs have created many jobs and given back to the community in several ways, including tonight's honoree, Murray Wise. Third, I think the Parkland Entrepreneur of the Year program inspires all of us to be a little better, give a little more, and keep promoting the entrepreneurial spirit. Which leads me to my last area that I wanted to cover tonight. And this isn't on your program, but it's a special recognition in somebody who has, throughout their life, promoted the entrepreneurial spirit. This event tonight would not be happening except for the efforts, thoughts, and determination of Roy Lambert. During his lifetime, Roy has been a consistent and constant promoter of entrepreneurship. Roy was a good friend of my dad, V. Dale Kozad, and they worked closely together. During the past 20 years or so, I've had the opportunity to visit with Roy in his Vero Beach office once or twice a year. And usually we sit down and for 5 or 10 minutes we'll talk about business, and then Roy inevitably will pull out his entrepreneurship file, and we'll sit there for the next hour or so and talk about various projects he's walked in entrepreneurship. Today, Roy visited me in my office. He hadn't even sat down and he handed me a paper on all the various entrepreneurship activities he was involved with. Roy was the primary driver and creator for the Entrepreneur Program at the University of Florida, where they've had 15 years of consecutive Entrepreneur of the Years. He later found a tremendous interest in community colleges, starting with the Entrepreneur Program at Indian River Community College in Vero Beach, Florida, and later at Kaskaskia College in his original hometown of Centralia, Illinois. Roy also informed me today, as he continues his efforts, that he's working with the National Presidents Association of Community Colleges on trying to develop a National Entrepreneur of the Year program on a national basis for all community colleges. Roy inspired and encouraged Peter Fox and myself to help create this program, and tonight we want to thank Roy for his efforts. So in honoring Roy, we have a special award, the Parkland College Foundation Lifetime Entrepreneurship Award for Roy Lambert. Roy, would you come up and receive it? Before dinner, we have a couple of presenters from Parkland. I'd like to introduce Dr. Seamus Riley, who will be followed by Linda Mayette. Dr. Riley is Vice President for Institutional Advancement at Parkland College. Seamus was born in Ireland and was educated at the University College Dublin, where he earned a BA in English and History and an MA in Modern English. He received his PhD from the University of Illinois, and in 2006 became Chair of the Fine and Applied Arts and Vice President at Parkland 2008. Seamus will be followed by Linda Mayette, who is now the Executive Director of Parkland College Foundation. And Linda, in putting this program together tonight, has been wonderful to work with. I want to thank Linda, and I also want to thank Susan Goldenstein for all of her efforts. Linda will have some comments about thanking our sponsors and the founders, as well as what's going on with the program. So Seamus, would you come up and share your thoughts? Thank you.
Thank you very much and good evening. There's such a buzz and excitement in the room. It's quite palpable. It's really thrilling to see. On behalf of the Parkland College Board of Trustees and Parkland College President Dr. Tom Ramage, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome each of you to our 5th annual Entrepreneur of the Year event. I would first like to please introduce the members of our Board of Trustees who are here present. First, our Board Chairman, Dr. Tom Bennett from Gibson City. Vice Chair, Mr. Dana Trimble from Newman, Board Secretary, Mr. Lyndon Warfel from Tolono, Mr. James Ayres from Monticello, Mrs. Donna Gertz from Champaign, Ms. Bonnie Kelly from Champaign, and Mr. Gregory Knott from St. Joseph. I'd like to thank them for being here. I want to give a very special thank you to the Parkland College Foundation Board staff and Executive Director, Ms. Linda Mayette, for putting together this evening. It is Parkland College's distinct pleasure and honor to salute and celebrate Mr. Murray Wise, the 2014 V-Dale Cozad Entrepreneur of the Year. Together with the fellow founders of the program, Mr. Wise recognized the importance of promoting entrepreneurial thinking at Parkland College. Entrepreneurs see opportunities where others see obstacles. They see challenges where others see risks, and they see potential where others see nothing new. Scores of students have benefited from scholarships, engaged with speakers, and participated in entrepreneurial projects. At your table, you will see brochures identifying PEN, the Parkland Entrepreneurial Network. Parkland projects under the leadership of entrepreneur in residence Karis Lee have engaged our students in real projects for our community. In 3 semesters, they've completed the build-out from scratch of a mobile application for the United Way, which drew the attention of the National United Way office. They developed and built a website for HATS, Hands Across the Sea, a non-profit organization which provides aid and hope for the children of Haiti, a country to which Mr. Wise has donated time and resources. I would like to recognize Karis Lee and the students who have participated in these projects and ask them to please stand. The pen brand was developed and the brochure designed by a new student company located in the Fine and Applied Arts Department, AMP, Applied Media Promotions. With the support of Department Chair Nancy Sutton and with faculty member Kendra McClure and Department Manager Cindy Smith, a handful of students designed and executed a rebranding of the entrepreneurial program. I would like to recognize and thank them for their excellent work and ask them to please stand. Where are they? There they are. I'd like now to show a brief video so you can get some idea of the work that these students have done.
Hi, I'm Sarah Von Holten, and I am the account executive for the branding of AMP and also for the Haiti project.
My name is Ian Williams, and I'm the account executive for AMP, and I've been working on the Aztec Success Project.
Currently a graphic design student here at Parkland College, and I needed some extra credit hours for my internship, and I felt that AMP would be a perfect opportunity for me to do so.
AMP is a strategic communications firm that was founded in 2014, and it provides students with the opportunity to apply what they learn in the classroom in terms of writing and critical thinking skills to real scenarios.
So the structure of AMP is that we have students who have some experience in PR or advertising, and if they have experience, then they're considered our account executives. They would be the primary point of contact between our clients and the rest of AMP. If we have students come in and they don't have any experience, then those students would be the assistant account executives.
Clients come to us and they need promotional work done, and from there the students look at the promotional challenge and develop a strategic plan that will serve the client's needs, and then they work to execute that plan over the course of a semester.
We have a creative team that would include graphic designers, videographers, photographers, possibly even somebody from hospitality. That allows us to draw in more people from more areas of the college, which is kind of our primary goal. We try to be all-inclusive and include as many people from as many different areas as we can.
AMP has helped my work ethic in the sense that I understand how important it is to be there and to be on time, and you're a part of a team. So if you're not pulling your weight, you're pulling everyone else down.
AMP has given me some good opportunities to increase the work in my portfolio. I'm a graphic design student, so working with communication students and business students allow me to really see things from a different angle.
So I've actually always had a passion for PR. I just never knew where to focus it. And that's one of the things that AMP has led me to do. It actually taken the skills that I've already had and the skills I didn't know I had and actually made them come alive.
I was given the opportunity to work on the Haiti project to do some recruitment for some students for an internship. And I would love to work for the Walt Disney Company and do some recruiting for them for their college program or to work on the cruise line. So now I have actual tangible experience to show the company that I can do this, and it's been awesome.
I want to thank Chris Foster for the excellent work on creating the videos for this event. He's done it year after year. He does a fantastic job. We hope that AMP is the first of many such companies at Parkland working on projects and providing real-world experience of critical thinking and problem solving for our college and for our community. Mr. Wise's own story is a testament to initiative, vision, hard work, drive, and engagement with community. He is quick to acknowledge the help that he has had throughout his wonderful career. His commitment and love for this community, for agriculture, and for the potential he sees in youth are the cornerstones of the work he and the founders have undertaken in supporting these programs at Parkland College. Congratulations again on your wonderful achievements and your deserved recognition as the 2014 Vidale Cozad Entrepreneur of the Year. At this time, I'd like to invite Linda Mayette, Executive Director of the Parkland College Foundation, to come to the podium to recognize the founders and members of the Parkland Foundation Board.
I want to add my thanks to the folks who have already expressed their appreciation for your participation tonight, and especially thanks to Murray and Valerie for their engagement in this process. It has been a joy and a pleasure to be able to work with you to pull people together and to bring the community together in this way. And so thank you very much, and we are so pleased to be able to honor you tonight. And I want to just share briefly some comments about, want to introduce my board, the Parkland College Foundation Board. We have several board members here. Marjorie Williams, our vice chair of the board, Nick Stokes, our treasurer, Carol Charlo, who's chair of our Resource Development Committee, Charlie Chaplin, Greg Knott, Gail Rost, Fred Gertz, and Scott Miller. So the Inspire, I think, you know, they are a part of helping all of this happen. The inspiring work these students are doing is really made possible by the generosity of the Parkland, of you, of the folks who are sitting in this room, and primarily the founders who had the vision to see this program as it could be and invest before it was anything except a thought. So tonight I'd like to recognize Greg Cozad, Roy Lambert, Murray Wise, David Eads, Chris Meyer, and John Stewart, all who are with us tonight. Thank you for your vision and your investment and for being here tonight, as well as Donald Dodds, Chuck Keeling, and Peter Fox for catching a vision and investing in a program that is providing opportunities for students like the ones you've seen in the video tonight to explore their dreams and learn the practical skills needed to make their dreams realities. I also want to add my thanks to Carl Meyer for working with these community leaders to bring this program to Parkland College. The funds raised from tonight's event and from events in the past 4 years provide resources that allow the students to participate in the Parkland Entrepreneurial Network. And this is one that is completely funded by charitable gifts to the program. So you are making the experience that these students have possible. I want to thank all of our corporate and individual sponsors for their support of tonight's event, and I especially want to recognize our presenting sponsors, Super Value, and Mike Guth is here tonight, and thank and recognize our program sponsors, Simtech, Cozad Asset Management, Donald Dodds, Illinois American Water, and the News Gazette, and our corporate sponsors, Meyer Capel, Midwest Underground Technologies, and Warden Martin. We also have a nice list of event sponsors, some who are with us tonight, some who are not. Mark and Jill Ahrens, Bank Champaign, Benefit Planning Consultants, Busey Bank, First Mid-Illinois Bank, Frasca International, Horizon Precision Systems, McGladrey, Prospect Bank, Regency Apartments, Singleton Law Firm, and Iowa State University. So thank you all for your participation, for being here, and for your support. If you have been inspired by this program and would like to know how you can help support it or get involved, there are little cards on your table that you can complete and return, and we will be glad to follow up with you. Now please enjoy your dinner and your conversation around the tables, and we'll be back after our meal to honor our 2014 Vidale Cozad Entrepreneur of the Year, Murray Wise.
We're now going to pay tribute to Murray Wise and as the Entrepreneur of the Year. But to start off, a very personal standpoint, David and Diana Wise are going to come up, the children of Murray and Valerie Wise, and share a few thoughts.
Hello, I am Diana Wise.
And I'm David Wise.
11 years ago, we lived in a Russian orphanage for about 5 years.
Yep, that was us.
But, but what seems today like a miracle,
Mom and Dad discovered us with no intentions of adopting us.
as they already had 4 older children,
And not to mention 6 grandchildren, 2 of which are older than us.
11 years ago, they committed to adopt us and move us to the United States.
For which we became U.S. citizens.
After 11 years here in the United States of America,
We are planning on graduating from high school next spring.
thank you, Mom and Dad.
Congratulations, Dad.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thanks, David and Diana, for that. What wonderful parents Murray and Valerie are. Next, going to introduce Dick O'Neill. Dick has been involved with the local business community for over 45 years. He's currently president of the Prospect Bank in Champaign and has served in a similar capacity for Chase Bank, Bank One, and American National Bank. Dick's also been involved in a number of community activities, having served as the United Way campaign chair and past president of the Champaign Credit Bureau. If you moved to Champaign in the 1980s, like Murray and I both did, you usually went to see Dick O'Neill for a loan. And I remember the first loan I got when I moved back to town, my dad sent me to see Dick and got a loan. And I think Murray also had a similar relationship. And so Dick, would you please come up and share a few stories about Murray?
Thank you, Greg, Dr. Riley, Director Winnett. By accepting the Parkland Foundation invitation to speak on what I know about Murray Wise, I put myself in a very precarious position because over the past 30 years, Murray has graciously allowed me the opportunity to be his personal banker. And what I know about him, I can't talk about. Balance sheets are boring, but that said, the following speakers will tell why he deserves the honor he has, and I'm going to concentrate on a little trivia I've learned about Murray, so hopefully in roughly chronological order. Let's get on with it. At age 10, Murray bought his first car, a 1930 Model A Ford, for $175. The problem was he wasn't physically big enough to drive it until he was 12. Murray still owns the car, has restored it to mint condition. When Murray was 17, he purchased his first farm, a 95-acre tract of homestead in Ontario, Canada. The property was mostly tillable, but did have a small home and some timber on it, and the purchase price was $20,000. As he tells the story, his dad wouldn't guarantee the loan. But somehow Murray managed to get the loan on his own. He bought the farm, and within 6 months, he sold off the house, sold off the timber, paid off the bank, put $2,000 in his pocket, and had 85 acres of tillable land. 100% financing to a minor just shouldn't be done, but he did it. From there, Murray graduated from Iowa State University, farmed for 3 years in Canada, married a wonderful lady from Iowa, moved back to Iowa, worked in a farm management firm, and was sent to Champaign to open a farm management office. Murray arrived in Champaign towards the end of the Great Recession of 1982. Shortly after his arrival, home mortgage rates were in the 13% range, prime rate at 18%. The savings and loan scandal was getting a good start in itself, and most importantly for Murray, the farm crisis was just hitting. Midwest land values would decrease by as much as 60%. When this was all taking place, this young kid from Canada walks in our bank, tells my brother and I his intentions, and we just looked at each other, smiled, and said, "Best of luck, fella." After he was champagne for a while, Murray teamed up with the Cozad Group, and shortly thereafter, he was seldom seen around town. We later learned he was spending a lot of time on the West Coast, growing almonds, grapes, pistachios, and apples. When I heard this, I asked, what in God's name does Murray know about growing and marketing nuts, grapes, and apples? But once again, Murray proved me wrong. Mr. Almond Nut King, who was once responsible for 9,300 acres of almond trees, sits with us tonight. When running Westchester, old Frugal Murray found a foolproof way to control cost. He hired his ex-wife, Chris, as the CFO. It was her job to approve all expenses, including his. He actually picked up the tab for lunch one day, and to justify the expense, he looked like he was writing a dissertation on the back of the credit card bill. And I asked, "What are you doing?" And he says, "I have to do this or Chris won't allow the expense." In the spring of 2010, I called on Murray at Winchester and he invited me into his office. He sat me down and said I was the first person outside Westchester's inner circle, and that includes Dave Sholem, to be told he was selling Winchester to TIA Surf. I damn near fell out of my chair. I could just visualize our entire banking relationship with Winchester being wired out to some bank out east. Didn't happen that way. It's a win-win situation for all concerned. Murray may be frugal, he's also quite generous. The many scholarships he has funded over the past years attest to that fact. In addition, Murray contributed some major megabucks to many other worthy causes, including the Parkland Foundation through his Wise Family Foundation. Valerie, Murray's lovely wife, tells me that Murray loves any type of data, especially data concerning weather, primarily the amount of rainfall. In addition, he maintains a written, detailed log, which I have seen, where he details all the restaurants he has patronized around the world, and I mean world. Murray has made a total of 10 round-trip whirls, always from a west to east direction, just selling almond nuts. You combine those trips with other trips he's made, and Murray has amassed over 6.6 million miles with American Airlines alone. In summary, over the years, I've had the pleasure of watching Murray grow from a one-man startup to an extremely successful, multi-million-dollar international force in the agriculture industry. There are many reasons for Murray's success, but two of the ones that kind of stand out to me are Murray always hires, associates himself with only the highest quality professionals. And to name a few, and I'm sure there are many more, his mentors, Dr. Harold Crawford of Iowa State University and Dr. C.H. Sandage of the University of Illinois. His old Winchester team, specifically Randall Pope, their current CEO, the previously mentioned Chris Wise, and of course the Cozad Group, Greg, Dale, Ron, Stu, and a whole bunch more. And he's now assembled an outstanding team at Murray Wise and Associates, including Ken Knopfsinger, Joe Babon, John Kirkpatrick, who were with Murray at Westchester, as well as Jeff Wright, Kenny Shum, Josh Gehrig, Katie Pisbilski, and who joined him Murray after the sale. And last, but certainly not least, there is Murray's 24/7 administrative assistant for the past 28 years, Jamie Knight. Jamie works in Murray's Naples, Florida office, and I swear she never sleeps. She is strictly the go-to person that knows everything about Murray. Without Jamie, Murray would be one lost soul. And the second reason, I think, is Murray's personal philosophies and business values have always been driven by two words he mentions all the time, is integrity and excellence. And I can say with great certainty that Murray has, without exception, always lived up to these two values. A sincere congratulations to this year's recipient of the Parkland College Video Cozad Entrepreneur of the Year Award, Murray Russell Wise. Thank you.
Thanks, Dick. That was wonderful comments. David Sholem has practiced law at the Meyer Capo Law Firm in Champaign since 1978. I've had the opportunity to work with David on many occasions, and he's an incredible attorney. Hardworking, efficient, dedicated, but he also has a great deal of sense of fun. And through the years, I think Murray and David have had a lot of fun together. In David's own bio, he puts his clients include real estate developers, private equity funds, institutional real estate investors, and A-type personalities like Murray Wise, who David has represented for over 25 years. I recall back in the late 90s and the early 2000s, one of the primary ways that we communicated was by voicemail, and you could timestamp the voicemail systems, and you could listen to voicemails in the morning. And it seemed like Murray and David would have a contest about who would leave the latest voicemail showing that they were actually working harder. So you'd hear one at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and then David Sholem, though, pointed out to me today, yeah, but a lot of times Murray was in California, so he had a 2-hour advantage. Anyway, David, would you come up and share some comments on Murray?
Thank you, Greg. It's indeed an honor, and Murray's already laughing because he's concerned. It's an honor and a privilege to speak here about Murray Wise, who, as Greg mentioned, I've known as a friend and as my client for over 25 years. And the only unfortunate aspect about my opportunity to speak here today is similar to Dick O'Neill's, attorney-client privileges apply. And all of the good stuff is on the cutting room floor, right, Stu? So I'd like to say a lot of things that I can't mention, but I can tell you one thing. Murray is very smart. He knows a lot of things. In fact, he's the only person I know whose wife has a T-shirt that says, "I don't need Google because my husband knows everything." And that's true. Most people bring speeches. I brought like photos in case you don't believe me, so I've got that. But Murray is, as his name implies, incredibly wise. He's bright, he's hardworking, obviously entrepreneurial, so getting the Entrepreneur of the Year award is appropriate. But he is also very youthful and has incredibly high energy. And I think that explains why this one photo keeps being shown. I mean, you see it up there. It's this photo. It's on your program, it's on the wall, it's in the News Gazette. I watch CNBC and they show Murray being interviewed, there's the photo. And it doesn't matter how many years go by, but we keep seeing the same photo. And Murray is aging well, but you know, this is getting a little bit ridiculous. I think he's going to be a 75-year-old entrepreneur still using this photo, but I think it's by design because it's so all of the young men and women at Westchester Group and at Murray Wise Associates know that Murray can keep up with them, and I think he always will be able to. The only problem I had is that I had this made by Peter Schmidt's team at Up Close. Peter's here, I saw him. They did a great job. They delivered this to my office I think within 48 hours of when I ordered it. So here it is, it's in my office. So for the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've had Murray Wise peering down at me. And I gotta tell you, working with Murray is intimidating. And anybody who's worked at Westchester Group or at Murray Wise Associates, you look at this photo, and what do you see? What I see is somebody saying to me, "Aren't you done yet?" Why is this taking so long? Why can't you explain this to me in 15 words or less? Because Murray is high energy, he's ADD. If he was a grade school student now, he'd be on Ritalin, as would I. And as Greg mentioned, he sends voicemail messages and emails at all hours of the night and day. 4 a.m. could mean anything. I mean, I get messages from Murray at 4 a.m. and I think, what is he doing and where is he? He could be up early in Florida, he could be in London, he could be anywhere. He's truly the Energizer Bunny. And on top of that, he has been ahead of his time. In fact, both Dale Kozad and Murray Wise, who formed Kozad Westchester and first brought farmland to individual accredited investors and then to institutional investors, pension funds, sovereign funds, nations who are investing their dollars. They were truly decades ahead of the rest of the world. Now there are dozens of pension funds and sovereign funds looking at agricultural real estate as an investment, and when they were beginning to do it, there was no one, or virtually no one, certainly no one, and no organization like Kozad Westchester. Murray also has been fun to represent because, as an attorney, it's kind of a good news, bad news. The bad news is that if everyone was like Murray, I would be out of work, because you wouldn't need a contract if everyone was like Murray, because his word truly is his bond, and if everybody did what they said they were going to do, the lawyers, at least the transactional lawyers, would be out of business. But the good news is that he always gave me tremendous credibility, because Murray was out buying farmland in the early years, and all the Westchester people will remember it. But he would call me and would be going back and forth with a lawyer, undoubtedly, and Murray would say, call Mr. Jones or Mr. Smith's lawyer and tell him that I will pay $3,850 per acre for his farm. That's my last offer, that's the final offer, but I need to hear from him by 5 o'clock today. And that's it. And so I would dutifully deliver the message almost verbatim and say, and I'm telling you, he really means it. This is really his final offer. And so that would happen, and invariably one time in 10, the next day I get a call, how about 39 1/4? I go, sorry, that won't work. Okay, we'll take the 38.50. You don't understand. The 38.50 is gone. Murray was already on to the next farm in the next county and next state, and I'd have this other lawyer pleading, begging, and if that didn't work, then the seller, the farmer, would be calling. But Murray was disciplined, and he knew what he could afford and what made sense for his investors. And I use the example $3,850 per acre because that was truthful, and those of you who have followed farmland know that that'd be a pretty good price today, with the same quality land trading at $10,000, $11,000, or $12,000 an acre. So he truly was a wise investor and did a wonderful job at Kozad Westchester, and now continues it at Murray Wise Associates. He also has been unbelievably benevolent. Others have alluded to the scholarships that were established through the foundation that Murray has, and he's donated to other organizations as well. He's raised wonderful children. You heard from Diana and David. I also see Julie and Jason, who are here, who are chips off the old block, so it's great to see them. And when I was, probably 15 years ago, when my son was, maybe a little longer, my son was maybe 12 years of age, and he met Murray, and someone was asking him what he wanted to be when he grew up. And he said, do you want to be a lawyer like your dad? And my son had seen, Murray took me on business trips. We went to Miami, went to a basketball game with the Miami Heat, and my 12-year-old son said, no, I don't want to be a lawyer, I want to be a client. So it's probably a pretty good judgment. But few have the intelligence, the drive, the stamina, and the entrepreneurial spirit to be a businessman and an entrepreneur of the year like Murray does. And he truly is a rare bird. And so I'd just like to say, Murray, congratulations, best of luck, continue on with your entrepreneurial activities. I'm sure there'll be many more that we'll hear about in the decades to follow. Thank you.
David's taller than me. I got to pull this down. Thanks, David, for those comments. Our final speaker tonight is Ken Nopziger, who has spent 25 years providing investment banking and consulting services to owners and managers of middle market businesses throughout the U.S. Ken is currently the president of Murray Wise Associates and Murray Wise Capital. Prior to joining Murray and his team back in 2010, Ken served as managing director and co-head of food and agribusiness with Duff & Phelps in LA. Ken's also a CPA and previously worked at McGladrey. Throughout his career, Ken has worked closely with food and agribusiness clients and entrepreneurs. Ken, would you please come up and share a few words about Murray?
We're going to just keep bringing it down because we're like a ladder here. Anyhow, when Murray asked me to speak tonight, I was pretty excited. I'm thinking, all right, a chance to roast the guy. Then he told me I only get 2 to 3 minutes, so I had to put away the boxes and the photos and the video that we tried to find of him calling it one and only auction from, I don't know, 25 years ago. And then I found out I had to follow Dick and David. I'm like, well, this is impossible. These guys have known Murray for 20-some, 30-some plus years. I've known Murray for less than 5. But then I thought about it. Well, I've got the benefit. I know the kindler, gentler, sweet Murray that most people that worked with him for years, I'm not sure they share those same sentiments. But anyhow, as Greg said, I spent 25 plus years consulting and advising owner-managed businesses, i.e. the definition of entrepreneur. And I've probably met 1,000 people that you would call an entrepreneur over the years. And I can honestly tell you that nobody that I've ever met embodies the spirit of that word more than Murray. He is the poster child for this distinguished award that he's receiving here tonight. So I thought I'd walk through some of those characteristics that Murray has that help define what an entrepreneur is. So let's start with salesmanship. Every good entrepreneur is a salesman, and Murray is a self-described deal junkie. If there's a deal to be out there, he wants to find a way to get in the middle of it. So let's start 30-some years ago when he had the opportunity to acquire the Eastern Division of the Sandage Companies. Well, what did he do? He went out and sold. He somehow convinced 13 different outside shareholders to invest in basically him and his vision, and was extremely successful in that. Shortly after that, he partners with the folks at the Cozad firm, and they say, let's go raise some funds and go buy some farmland. What's he doing? He's selling. I think over 300 different investors that they drug in. So from the very, very early days, he's been a salesman. I've seen him in action at dozens and dozens of auctions, and I've never seen anyone as magical as he is, that if you're coming in the room and you're thinking, I'm going to spend, $5,000 an acre for that farm. When you're done, Murray's got you spending $5,500, $6,000, $6,500. He's able to squeeze out those extra dollars better than anyone else that I've ever seen. His biggest sales job, and I'm not sure if the return to sender part's over on this or return to buyer, is a little over 5 years ago, not quite 5 years ago, in December of 2009. Somehow he drags me and Laura, my wife, to Champaign, Illinois, and meets us him and Valerie meet us for dinner downtown Champaign. There's about 6 inches of snow on the ground. And we had just arrived the day before from California, where it was, 82 degrees and sunny. And we were living a dream, and somehow he put on the sales pitch then that convinced us to come to Champaign and join his team. Like I said, after this last winter, Murray, you still got some negotiating to do with Laura. All right, the second thing about entrepreneurs is they're risk takers. And again, this is where Murray excels. You know, start years ago when he left the farm in Canada that he owned free and clear, I just learned from Dick, and decided, you know, what's next in my chapter? And he somehow goes back to selling to the folks at ISU and convinces them to let him come to Ames, Iowa, and participate there. You know, he's a guy that always puts his money where his mouth is from a risk-taking perspective. He'll try to drag anybody and everybody in this room into a deal, but he's not just selling you. Almost every deal that he's trying to get you in, and he's did this for decades, puts his own skin in the game, whether it's 1%, 3%, recently it's 90% of Murray's money and maybe 10% of everyone else's, but he likes to bring other people in the deal. And one of the reasons he does this, and this is something I learned very early from him when I joined the firm, is he loves partners. He's not a lone ranger. A lot of people think an entrepreneur is a lone ranger. That's not Murray. He said this over and over again, and I've watched it in action. A partner makes him a better performer. And if it's good for you, it's going to be good for Murray. And he's done that probably better than anybody I've ever seen. The third item that entrepreneurs are really good at is decision-making and leadership. Well, everyone in this room that knows Murray knows he's not the most patient person in the world. He hates bureaucracy, he hates meetings, he hates conference calls, and he wants to get to the point when you do this. And I think he's had, I don't know if it's a firm rule, but it's a pretty understood rule that nothing longer than 20 minutes, whether it's a conference call or a meeting. And what happens even during those 20 minutes is he's multitasking throughout this whole thing. He's sitting there probably conducting 50 commodity trades while the meeting's going on. He's dictating letters and sending them to Jamie. He's juggling multiple phone calls. He's recording the weather. He's checking the weather. He's looking on his phone. And I've been in a lot of meetings where he'll get up, walk out in the parking lot, and you know he's checking the weather. But the one thing that he does do is if you do put an idea, a proposal, or a proposition in front of him, you can expect to get the most feared and at the same time exciting two-word response. He's pretty, keeps his emails to a minimum too, but you'll get the two-word response, and of course it's in his patented 32-point blue bold font, all in caps. But what those two words are is just do it. And that's it. So and then you're like, oh, what did I just get myself in for? And finally, what I think makes a great entrepreneur is somebody with passion and exuberance. And I've watched this both in Murray's personal and his professional life. And with Murray, you don't know where they start and they stop. I mean, it all blends together. But he doesn't do anything without jumping into it with both feet. And what he's done at Murray Wise Associates since I've been involved with him, he set an environment for all the folks there where, one, we're not going to be outworked. Two, we don't take ourselves too seriously. This must be the kinder, gentler Murray that I know, that a lot of people may not. We make mistakes, but we don't dwell on them. We quickly move on, we learn from those mistakes, and most of all, we have fun every day. Fantastic place to work, fantastic group of people to work with, and it's all because of Murray. So, congratulations, partner. All of us are looking forward to the many years of future endeavors, ventures, and adventures with you leading the way. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. We will now have the video presentation.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize a great friend of mine and a great friend of agriculture, Murray Wise, Farming and agriculture have always played an integral role in Murray's life. He grew up on his parents' grain and livestock farm and even acquired his first farm before attending college. After graduating early from Iowa State University, Murray continued to show his commitment to agriculture through his first job with Allied Mills Incorporated and his second with Sandage Companies. And now, years later, Murray is the chairman and CEO of Murray Wise Associates, a leading authority on land marketing based in Champaign, Illinois. In 2 weeks, Murray will be honored as Parkland College's V. Dale Kozad Entrepreneur of the Year. I can't think of a more deserving individual than Murray to receive this prestigious award. Murray is recognized not only for his years of hard work and education, but also for his innovative ideas and position as a national leader in agriculture. Congratulations, Murray, on this incredible achievement, and I look forward to working with you in years to come on behalf of the agricultural communities in Central Illinois. Congrats again, Murray.
Murray made contact with me in August 1969. He was inquiring about a program whereby he could get some college work in agriculture without taking a whole year away. We got to remember he was a farmer from Ontario, Canada, and he loved that farm, and he was trying to improve, but yet he wanted more education. So with that, I had to do some interaction with the Associate Dean of Agriculture because he didn't meet the requirements for admission. But he had the desire. He had the proof of his coursework. We knew he could do it. And sometimes rules are meant to be broken. He had fun in his education, but he didn't come here for college life. He came here to be sincere, and get him going. And that is what he tells. He gives me credit for helping him get started. That changes his life and moves him forward.
Murray was born and raised in Hamilton, Ontario, and he saw the light, came over to the United States, and became involved in farming, primarily in the I-states, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa.
When Murray got out of school, he went to work for the Sandage Companies. I started buying farmland, and Murray managed some of my farmland early on, and our relationship grew, and we got to know each other very well over time.
Murray and I met back in the early 70s. That was the beginning of a long friendship. One thing about Murray, he could count faster than anybody else I knew. Count pigs faster than I could count money. They could run by him six deep, and he'd have an accurate count every time. He was just amazing.
Well, when I first met him, I was the one maybe teaching him a little something about the Chicago Board of Trade, and quite honestly, I don't think I've taught Murray anything since. He's pretty much taught me. He and I both had the good fortune to know a man named Bob Locke. Bob Locke used to always tell a story about how one time he bought a farm for me, and he thought it was quite humorous because I told him just to buy the farm. Anyway, it was many, many years later, and Murray was at an auction attending it, and actually, no, he was conducting it, and I was one of the bidders. Murray, one of his cohorts at the auction, had me on the phone, and I told this gentleman to tell Murray just to do a lucky, that's what we call Bob Locke, was lucky, and so I said, just do a lucky, and the guy said, what are you talking about? And I said, just tell Murray to do a lucky. I said, he'll know. And the guy says, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, just tell him. So he did. He went in and he says to Murray, right in the middle of the auction, and said, he said to do a lucky. He says, I have no idea what this means. He was quite put out. And Murray says, don't worry, I know what that means. And to do a lucky was just keep bidding until you buy the farm. So that was what Murray did.
In working with Murray Wise, I found that nobody works for Murray Wise, they all work with Murray Wise. The whole team works together. It's obviously an ingrained family attitude. Murray takes care of them, they take care of Murray. It's a case of mutual respect.
The thing that sets Murray apart is that Murray's a real problem solver. So by that I mean that the more complex something might be, the more Murray shines.
And he's a very charitable man. When I lost my wife 4 years ago in 2010 in Haiti, she was killed in the earthquake. She was on a charitable mission. And when Murray heard about it, he promptly said he donated a sizable sum to 2 charities down in Haiti.
What Murray really should be known for, I believe, is the legacy of philanthropy that he'll leave behind. Although he's accomplished much, it really isn't for his own wealth and glory, but rather to pass it on to make everybody a little better.
You know, as good a businessman as Murray is, I think that it might be said that he's even a better person. And I think one thing that speaks to not only just his family, but also what he does for other families is his work in adoption and his passion for adoption. Most people that know Murray very well know that he has 2 adopted children and from Russia. And I think Murray and Valerie both, it just speaks to their to what kind of people they are, that they're just very unique folks and not only raise the money, but then go out and give a much needed adoption to some young people, young kids that needed adoption.
We're putting the emphasis on Murray, but we must also attach the support from his wife, Valerie, and his children. He has a very, very fine family.
Valerie's a tremendous person. She's kind of the, I think, quiet background person a lot of the time, but she chauffeurs Murray around. She's a sounding board. So I think Valerie makes a big contribution to Murray's success.
He's done well in his entrepreneurship program through his life, and he shared it with so many, including me.
When Murray was leaving Ontario, which was kind of sad for us because we built up a pretty good friendship, I told my wife Yvonne, when Murray goes to the States, starts a new life, he's going to make it big time. And he didn't let me down. Look at him now. Thanks, Murray, for being my friend. Congratulations for an award well deserved. God bless you and Valerie and your family.
Great video. The presentation of the award is always a special event. And this evening in particular it is for me because my dad was in the winter of his life, having battled cancer the last 5 of his years before he passed away. And as my dad was battling, he had a great fight, a great love of life, and a great passion. And he really, really enjoyed the time he spent with Murray and Stu Meacham in really initiating the Cozad Westchester venture. I think there were many unique trips where Dad was battling illness, and I know he would be very proud of Murray. So, Murray, would you please come up and receive the VDL Cozad Entrepreneur of the Year Award.
Thank you. First and foremost, let me give you the good news. The good news is my presentation this evening is shorter than any one of those other guys. But first, I'd simply like to say thank you. Secondly, I'd like to recognize the family members that could be here this evening, and I would ask them to rise and remain standing. First, Heidi Hatton, Scott Hatton, Kyle Hatton, Julie Wise, Jason Wise, David Wise, Diana Wise, and most importantly, Valerie Wise. Thank you. I had this in my plan before I knew about Roy Lambert receiving the award, very appropriate award that he received this evening. But I would like to ask Roy to stand for one more moment, if you will, while I make a couple comments. Roy probably doesn't, A, remember this, and probably doesn't even know what I'm going to say, but remain standing, please. In 1993 or 1994, I had dinner with V. Dale Cozad and Roy Lambert in Vero Beach one evening relatively late. And Roy gave me one of the greatest speeches of my life. It was very low-key, but it was very, very important. And it was a speech that covered two subjects. It covered the importance of entrepreneurship, and it covered the importance of philanthropy. And as a result of that speech, Valerie and I can say that we've directly or indirectly been involved in scholarships for significantly more than 100 people. We have an entrepreneurship, a very, very unique entrepreneurship at Iowa State University, headed up by Kevin Kimley. And that speech in 93 or 94 was very, very important to me and to my life. And thank you, Roy. Next, and I'm sure I'm going to leave many, many out, but I'd like to recognize a small handful of very, very close friends, and I, again, would like to ask them to rise and remain standing until I recognize them all. First, my friend Richard Stark. Secondly, I hope I can still say my friend David Cholum. Professor Harold Crawford, who is with us this evening, and I probably wouldn't even be here this evening if it was not for him and his tenacity. Dean Wendy Winterstein, the Dean of the College of Agriculture at Iowa State. My great friend, Randall Pope. Jamie Knight. And again, I would like to have you join me in recognizing each and every one of them. Thank you. Now I would like to take a second in recognizing a very special friend, and I would like to tell you a couple of quick stories regarding this individual. He greatly surprised me by telling me that he was going to be with me tonight, but I would like to ask my close friend, Belgi Chadha, to please stand. Belgi heads up one of the very large global food companies specializing in nuts and dried fruits. Significantly more than 10 years ago, Belgi and his firm taught me a number of lessons. Number one, when you quoted them a price, they said yes or no. There were no further negotiations. It was a price, and it was yes or no. But my most unique experience with Belgi and his firm was Valerie and I had returned from dinner late one evening from an out-of-town engagement many, many years ago, and there was a fax on my fax machine confirming an order that we had quoted to his firm earlier in the day. Well, it was well after midnight. I signed the confirmation of the order, put it in the fax machine, and returned it to Baljeet's office. I got a call the next morning telling me, which I was not aware of, that the price of almonds had increased either 8 or 10 cents overnight, and that I had faxed it back after midnight, and that he considered all business ceased at midnight, and that it was not appropriate, and they were willing to cancel the order, or what they were going to suggest was that we would go ahead, ship the order, they would sell the almonds, and they would split the profit with us. And I very keenly remember the day I received the check from Baljeet's firm for our clients for the other half of the profit. And that gave me a very, very unique sense of the individual I was dealing with. One last comment regarding Baljeet is that he never argued with you, as I told you, regarding price. But all the bankers in the room, particularly those related to me, will love this. He very frequently, at the conclusion of negotiations, will say, and again, remember we were dealing in 60, 90, 120, 100-day shipping contracts. He would say, I'll wire you the money today, I need a 1 cent discount. And in every case, I gave it to him. Thank you, Baljeet. It wouldn't be appropriate this evening if I did not touch on the Cozad Asset Management Firm. They're a very important part of our outstanding growth and development, to say the least. How we got together is a very, very unique story. I had originally planned on telling it to you tonight, but in the essence of time, I'm going to pass on the opportunity of sharing that story with you, at least this evening. But in closing, I would like to share with you the importance of entrepreneurship. We've heard this over and over and over again tonight, but it's ultimately important. And the programs, whether it's a Parkland program, University of Illinois program, or the Iowa State program that I touched on, it's a very, very important field of study in my eyes today. Again, a special thank you to my family, my friends, all of the attendees this evening, and a special thank you to Valerie for being with us this evening. In closing further, I would like to offer you 2 quotes. One of them I just came across recently, 2 separate quotes. First, and I've heard this, that it was a Margaret Thatcher quote, and I've heard it was a Winston Churchill quote. Socialism is the equal sharing of failure and misery. The second quote, which I believe was a Reagan quote that I came across recently, is there is no such thing as public money. There's only your tax money. And both those quotes, I think, are items that we should remember and keep in the back of our mind as we continue to go forward and do business. Thank you again to Parkland. Thank you to the Cozad firm. Thank you to the Cozad family, and a special thank you to Mimi. And I'm sure I'm out of place in mentioning this, but was not asked to, but the Cozad firm, July 1, is releasing their very first publicly traded small cap value fund. And I just wish Dale was here on July 1 to enjoy that event, and that he would have absolutely have loved it. Again, thank you for the honor. God bless each and every one of you, and I really value this award. Thank you.
Thanks, Murray. What a deserving recipient. Well, that wraps up the 5th annual Parkland Entrepreneur of the Year event. I guess in closing tonight, I would highlight the 3rd bullet point of what I believe this program is all about. To inspire all of us to be a little better, to give a little more, and to go out and promote the entrepreneurial spirit. Thanks for coming. Have a great evening.